Hello and welcome to this episode of the Queen Bee podcast. Today we're joined by the powerhouse that is Shelly Horton, author, TV presenter, journalist, MC and founder of ShellShocked Media. She's known for her candid commentary and fierce advocacy. She's a bold voice on everything from body image and perimenopause to media training and speaking your truth. She is definitely not afraid of ruffling feathers, which is great. Whether that is when she's busting myths around hormone therapy, challenging shame around menopause, or helping women to reclaim their power on camera and in life, Shelly brings energy, honesty, and lived experience to every conversation, and I cannot wait to dive in. Thanks for joining us, Shelly.
Oh, I am so excited to be here. I absolutely love this. That was one hell of an intro.
Thank you. I always like to start everyone feeling happy.
Yeah.
Now, let's start with diving into your new book. I've got my copy. Thank you.
Yay!
Um,
I've got mine here.
Good. And you know, it's really weird to say this, but I really enjoyed reading it, even though, it's pretty heavy topics. And I know I could certainly relate to a lot of it. But the writing style was very easy. I felt like I was just being drawn along, which is really nice because often in this kind of a facty kind of book, that can be a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, I sort of feel like there's nothing else really like it out there because there are medical books about menopause. There's not really even any books about perimenopause. So I wanted to really make that distinction that perimenopause, that's where the hormone hell is. So I think it deserves its own book. And yes, my story is quite horrific. But I've been a journalist for 30 years and I know that you want to also have a laugh at the same time. You want someone to take you along on a story, but I was really determined to make sure that it was evidence-based. So all of the information that I give in the book is backed up. So there are clinical trials, there is evidence. I even had an independent GP go through and assess the book to make sure that there wasn't any claims in there that might be, held up for questioning. And what I tried to do is take all of that science and that really hard to understand medical stuff and just kind of give it to you as if you were having a glass of wine with me on a Friday night. And I was going, so let me tell you about perimenopause. So that's kind of the approach I took. And I'm getting really positive feedback that women are saying it's a page turner, which is hilarious considering that it's about perimenopause, which is not yet the happiest of topics.
Not for many of us. That's certainly for sure. And so what motivated you to share your own story so publicly? And what's the response been?
So I think my main motivator was the fact that I felt sideswiped. So when I went into perimenopause and first started having symptoms when I was 45, I'd never heard the word perimenopause before. Now, I am so grateful that there is amazing social media now and it is a trending topic. Perimenopause is so hot right now. But back then it really wasn't. So for me, I was really determined that I wanted to break away that shame and silence that we tend to have around, secret women's business, which I firmly believe does not do anything but hold women back. So for me, it was, if I was going to write about it and bust all of this open, I had to be very vulnerable and share the really messy dark side as well, because I think if you gloss over that, then you're not helping anyone. You actually need to be very raw. I am a little bit nervous because I do feel like my soft underbelly is out there. And I'm like, oh, if anyone trolls me, I think there'll be tears. But so far, in fact, it's been an incredible response. And I've just had so many women saying thank you. And so many women saying, my doctor has been gaslighting me, telling me I just need to lose weight or telling me that I need to, manage my stress better. And now they've got a book where they can, put together a bit of a case and go to their GP and go, actually, no, let's have a talk about this. These are the symptoms. And you know what? What I say in my book is, and again, I was speaking to my psychiatrist just yesterday, bless her, and Professor Jayshree said she loves the book, but when she recommends it to patients, she does say it's a little bit salty because I do swear in it. And I'm like,
Salty.
you know what? Perimenopause is the time where you're probably going to swear about it. So I'm okay with that.
I'm going to use that as an excuse now.
It's a little bit, I'm a little bit salty because of Peri.
I'm allowed to swear. And I love that. And I think, it is something that someone could actually take and say, hey, GP, you need to read this. I mean, when it was me, I made up infographics and sent them out to the GPs because I'm not an author. But, it's so interesting how when we have that experience and we are in a position where we feel empowered to step up and make a difference, it's amazing what tools we can actually come up with to get that out there.
Absolutely. And the thing is, as much as I do, have a go at GPs, they haven't been taught, so if your GP is Gen X and over, it is most likely that they've had 0 or maybe 1 hour's training when it comes to perimenopause and menopause. Now, that's not actually their fault. That is a broken system, and that is something that I have been campaigning in Parliament about to fix. However, it is their responsibility to stay up to date. So now, if you go and you're not getting the response that you need from your GP, one, educate them or ask them to educate themselves. And if they are not up for that, get out of there. Find another GP. So I think it's time for women to advocate for their own health and actually stand up. I was definitely brought up in a generation and influenced by my mum that doctors are gods and you don't question doctors. And that's just not true anymore. They are my health teammate. They are my ally. I am not going to be told yes or no by a doctor on something that I know that I have done more research and had, a pretty horrific experience around. Therefore, I know a lot. Most of them could learn from me.
Yep. Now, I know you've said that this book is a cultural conversation starter as much as a personal story. What outdated perceptions of perimenopause were you most fired up to challenge?
Well, I think there was a couple. First of all, that perimenopause or menopause means you're old. Like, it doesn't. Midlife is not old. It's mid. It is the middle of your life. You've got, 30, 40, 50 years still to go. So it is not that women need to be invisible and be small. This is where they actually need to be stepping into their power. And then I think the biggest disservice to women worldwide was the WHI study that came out in 2002 that declared that HRT causes breast cancer. And we now know that that is not true. And it has really negatively impacted millions and millions of women for decades. And that now needs to be not a knee-jerk reaction when it comes to HRT. HRT is the benefits outweigh the risks. Yes, there will be some people who can't take it because if they've personally had breast cancer or if they've got issues with blood clotting and things like that. So there is still that group. And there's also a group of women who just don't want to take it because they don't, like Big Pharma. And that is their choice. My mission is to not have any woman say no to HRT because they're afraid of breast cancer. That's my mission. As long as they're making an evidence-based decision, it's their choice. You do you, boo. I do not mind, but I want you to have the information because we also know now there are so many positive things that HRT does, including protecting our brains, our bones, and our heart. So there's a lot there when we have our estrogen stripped out of our body that we need to build our own systems back up again.
Yeah, and I think the other side of that is also that women aren't being told that someone won't prescribe it. that they
Absolutely.
won't give them the option.
Do not gatekeep it. Do not gatekeep it. I mean, in my book, I have 2 case studies of women who have had breast cancer and they have had to fight to go into HRT. They are rare cases, but you know what? They also still have the right to make that choice. So, you know, in one of the cases, it was a terrible situation of a woman who has the BRCA1 gene, and she survived breast cancer. And then because she had a double mastectomy and had a hysterectomy and her ovaries removed as a preventative measure, went into medical menopause, and her perimenopausal, or her case, her menopausal depression was so severe that she attempted to take her own life. Now, the 1% chance of getting breast cancer is nothing compared to the 97% chance of her topping herself. You know, so for me, it's up to her to make that decision, not the oncologist, not the GP. It's their job to give you all of the information and for you to make an educated choice.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, I mean, that does come back to that changing relationship and that changing perception that they aren't the expert in you. They might have expertise in some things, but you are you. Yeah.
I also think, I mean, if this happened to men, there would be a test to be able to go, yep, you're in perimenopause. But we don't have a test. Blood tests are useless because your hormones change every day. What you need to be doing is actually being holistic and looking at yourself and all of your symptoms and going, I'm not sleeping. I'm putting on weight quickly. I'm having hot flushes. I'm having heart palpitations. Now that I know all of that, I put it together and say that's perimenopause. So it really is a time for, I think, women, it's a positive in that you can have a bit of a temperature test of yourself, not when you're having a hot flush, but take your baseline health and go, how am I doing? And how can I improve this? Because you want to be well and strong for the rest of your life. So this is your time to take stock and actually take some action.
Yeah, definitely. Now, you often say, I'm not an expert, I'm an experiencer. How has this perspective helped cut through a lot of the shame and confusion that many people have felt during midlife?
Look, I just hope that they identify with me. You know, because that lived experience is valuable. Now, I do make it very clear that I am in the minority of women who have had the worst experience. I say that I was at the top of the perimenopause tree and I hit every symptom branch on the way down. The only thing I haven't had is frozen shoulder, and I'm just waiting for that to happen.
Have you had jerky leg?
What is it?
When you have restless legs and it's...
Oh, yeah, I hate that.
Drives me crazy.
It actually makes me feel sick in the stomach when my legs do that. It's so upsetting. I hate it. But yeah, so I think having someone who's been a worst case scenario can help other women go, oh, she gets it. Because what I've found with even the experts, a lot of them haven't had particularly bad symptoms. And so as much as they might understand the medicine and understand what goes on around that, if they haven't felt what it's like to bleed for 42 weeks out of 52, or if they haven't felt what it's like to have incredible depression where you can barely get out of bed, it's not the same. So I'm hoping by presenting the lived experience and being very, very honest and open about it, that I'll have women understand that it's okay to take charge again.
Let's move on to relationships and intimacy, because I know that's a big part of it as well. And what I'd really like to get from you is how your midlife, and obviously perimenopause is part of that, has actually changed the way that you approach connection, communication, and self-worth, because that's always been a big part of who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think first things first, I had to get on top of my depression before I could deal with libido or deal with anything else. So it's sort of an put the oxygen mask on the symptom that is the one that is the worst, for sure. But once I was getting better, and I was put on an antidepressant by a doctor, and that killed my libido. I just flatlined. I was kind of numb. So coming off the antidepressant was really important. Getting my HRT right was very important, and it wasn't a quick fix. I had to try 4 different types of HRT until I got the right one. And my psychiatrist was the one who was playing with my doses because it was affecting my brain so much. But once I got that right, I realized that I hadn't really cared about my dry vagina because I wasn't that interested in sex. Once I got back to me and I started testosterone, I was interested in sex again, but it was incredibly painful. And I would actually bleed after sex. Like, that's how bad it was. So if I would love to encourage women to get on the vaginal estrogen. So
as soon as possible.
As soon as possible.
Yep.
I wish I'd started earlier, because the thing is, the vaginal estrogen will only keep your vagina at what it is from that day.
Yep.
You can't go back in time. And I feel like I lost nearly 5 years where I really should have been doing it. But for me at the time, it was just one other thing on the to-do list, and it didn't feel important. And I wish that I'd been given a bit more advice about that. But I do love that I got access to incredible experts like Dr. Kelly Casperson, who is a urologist from America. And she's like, vaginal estrogen is just like sunscreen. If you don't use it every day, it doesn't work. So as in, if you don't use it, it doesn't work. Vaginal estrogen, you only need to use twice a week. But
not every day. We're not advocating.
Not every day. You have to do it for 2 weeks straight at first, and then you go to every second day. But she uses another example of, like, it's like not wearing a seatbelt. You're not protected if you're not wearing a seatbelt. So it's something that you have to get into the habit of doing. And then the other thing that I love from Kelly is she's just like, use lube. Use all the lube. Do not go, you don't want sex to be painful. So make sure you're taking care of yourself. But the other thing I'll say about my connection and my relationship with my husband, Darren, is I think it's actually stronger now that we've been through this really tough, dark time, and he has been so supportive. My love for him is even deeper, and it almost gets to that point where we have that connection, and sex is great, but he's 60 and I'm nearly 52. So it's not like we're ripping our clothes off every second day, and that's okay. But I think the important thing about that is we talk about it. So don't let it become the elephant in the room. I think a lot of women just don't feel like sex, or they have painful sex. They don't tell their partner, and their partner feels rejected. And you don't want that happening. You need to have them as part of the conversation so that they realize what's going on and how they can help you.
Yeah. And I guess for any listeners who are concerned about that side of the relationship, we do have an interview with Todd Zemek in our free resources, which is all about helping to make sure that those relationships are still strong and going. One other thing I'd like to ask you about your experience with perimenopause is, and I know there's a whole book on how bad it was. So could you sum it up for us? One of the reasons I do this is that I think it's so important for everyone to understand how different everyone's experience is. So could you give us yours in a relatively small, not too bloody nutshell?
It's pretty bloody. Look, I would say that my perimenopause was an absolute hormonal dumpster fire. And the good thing about that is I basically felt like I got burnt to the ground, but then I rebuilt myself. And now I am feeling the healthiest I have in probably a decade. My mental health is so strong. My body is strong. I've started strength training, and I'm really proud of that. I'm being very aware of like protecting my sleep and making sure I have downtime. I'm trying to not be as much of a people pleaser as I used to be. So for me, as much as I did have the horrific symptoms of, the hot flushes and the depression and the heavy bleeding, all of that is a nightmare. But once you wake up from that nightmare, it's like you're renewed. And I really feel like the rest of my life, I'm going to be living from a better point than before perimenopause.
Yeah, and so are you over the threshold? Have you gone over the
Okay,
rainbow?
so I won't know. This is the thing, again, because the only medical way of determining if I'm now postmenopausal, because a lot of women don't know, menopause is one day.
One day.
It's exactly 12 months since your last period. Now, I've had an ablation, which means I don't get periods anymore. So I won't know. So I have had my doctor doing blood tests to check my follicular hormone stimulating
Yep.
levels, and they are definitely going down. So I'm thinking that I might be. Mentally, I feel like I am postmenopausal, but I don't know if that's just because I really want to be.
I wish
I really want.
I was
I want to
so
get
sure
there.
until I got one again, and I'm like, damn it.
I have so many girlfriends who are just like, it's so frustrating. I got to 9 months without a period, and then I got one, and I had to reset the clock. But I think that, again, that's so crazy that we don't have a better test or a better way of knowing. I think if I just go into my gut and my heart, I'm definitely over the worst of it, and things are just looking up.
Well, and I guess that's the other thing of it too is, does it really matter if you're at a point where you feel good? Like, it's not like we
Yeah,
get to a point
it's
and
just
we've
a
got to
label.
stop everything. It's just making sure you got some, pads or liners in your bag just in case. I mean,
Yep.
I did 6 months without, and I was like, yes, I'm there. And then my daughter started with her first one, and then I went in like, and I'm like, God damn it.
Of
Like,
course. You're
no,
cycling together. Damn
I
her.
know, it's so rude. Like, I thought I was on the home straight, but anyway.
Yeah. But I think it's true. Like the way that I feel about myself and my body now is so positive. So I don't need the label of postmenopausal. I'm already feeling that menopausal zest that I write
Ooh,
about in my book of actually feeling empowered and strong and giving zero fucks, which is actually very, very liberating. Not caring what other people say about you, not caring about things you can't control, actually just caring about you and how you're feeling, which is pretty powerful.
yeah, not needing to fit in from a social survival perspective.
Absolutely. We've done our time. We've been through all of that. And now I don't need validation from other people because I'm validating myself.
Yeah, no, I love that. Now, if you could give one unapologetic message to women who are navigating perimenopause or who might be wondering if they are, what would that be?
Educate yourself. This is time for you to be your own health advocate. Learn about perimenopause. Go to respected sources like my book that is evidence-based. Don't get your information from Karen on Facebook. I want you to go to evidence-based sources and then make an educated decision.
Yeah.
It's your body, it's your choice, but make an educated decision. This is your time to really invest in feeling well. So make sure you've got the right information on board.
Yeah, no, I love that. Now, that's all the questions I have for you, Shelley. Would you like to share with us anything that you've got coming up? Or I know your book's a huge thing at the moment.
Yes, well, the book is dominating my life at the moment, but it's in a great way because, it's been a year of my life. So now it's sort of like reaping the rewards of it. I would love to come and speak at conferences and workplaces and things like that about perimenopause. Unfortunately, there's still not many workplaces that are very up to date with that sort of information. So I'd love to be a trailblazer in that area. And I love doing keynotes because I make sure that as well as the doom and gloom, there's still a lot of funny work in there. And then the other thing is my business, ShellShocked Media. I teach Speak with Impact, and that is mainly for women who feel like they need to find their voice. And whether it is speaking up at work, whether it's giving a speech, or perhaps, fronting up on social media to promote their business, I can help them be their absolute best.
No, I love that. Thank you so much, Shelley. Um, as you've heard, we've had as our guest today Shelly Horton, who is author, journalist, TV presenter, MC, and the founder of ShellShocked Media. She is, as we've heard, a very fierce advocate for women's health, confidence, and authenticity, empowering women to ditch the shame, speak the truth, find their own answers, especially during midlife. And whether on screen, in print, or through her media training, Shelley is helping rewrite the narrative around menopause, perimenopause, with real visibility through humour, heart, and, of course, zero fluff. And her new book, I'm Your Peri-Godmother, A Happily Ever After Guide to Kicking Perimenopause in the Ovaries, is out now and is a really, really great read. I do recommend it. Thanks for joining us, Shelley.
Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.